Hey, this is Pam Perry, Speakers Magazine, podcast, vlog, video, Zoom, whatever. It's online. And today we're talking with some excellent people about money. Everybody needs it. Everybody has to have it. And 2020 has pretty much been a very difficult year than previous in terms of money. So today I have three guests, but actually they are in two different locations. Pastor Dexter B. Jenkins is actually in Boston, and Marques and Shyra, last name Murray. Okay, brain freeze on that. Shyra and Marques Murray are in, believe, California.
Yes.
So we're on two different time zones.
Close, yeah.
Yes. And one of the things I wanted to tell you how I know each one of them. All right. They are financial coaches, financial people that are people of faith. And they definitely, I wanted to have them speak, especially to speakers, about how to keep their finances in shape and how to really leverage what it is going on in 2020 and to build generational wealth. So I'll introduce Pastor Dexter and how I kind of met him and know him. So he is a pastor out of Boston. We've met online. We are actually helping him put together his website. Pastor Jenkins also has a church called Fellowship.
Fellowship Christian Church.
Fellowship Christian Church.
Yep.
And his website is dexterbjenkins.com. And so one of the things with Pastor Dexter is that he is a faith-based financial mentor. And so from doing work with him, we were Googling different things about faith and finance. And of course, we run across maybe other pastors and things like that that are into faith and finance. But we were looking for, I guess you say, some regular people that talk about faith and finance. And lo and behold, that's how we met Marques and Shyra Murray. And not only were they just talking about faith and finance, but they were young. They were energetic. The videos, I'm telling you, for you guys were on point. Like, so much fun to watch. Like, fun to watch. And I'm like, and when I first started watching it, and I was like, they're really good. They're really good on camera. And of course, maybe it's that California vibe, everybody in California is in like Hollywood. And I said, there's something different about him. And so I told Pastor Dexter, I said, I bet you he's a Christian. So then I think I was doing a little bit more research and I saw that he was a musician in his church. I was like, aha, I knew it. And just from your words, I can tell that there was a different vibe about you. So what I wanted to do is like maybe have each one of you all introduce yourself. Pastor Dexter, you go first, about how you got into this faith and finance journey and what was the pivotal point for you to really not just be a pastor as a calling, but also you feel called to talk about money with people in finances. So I'll let you go first. And then Marques and Shyra, you go.
Yeah, well, thank you for the opportunity to be able to, I call this a fellowship. We can fellowship digitally, and great thing about technology, we can do it across coast. I'm in Boston, they're in California, so that's the sweet thing about it. I guess my story starts, I've been pastoring for 8 years. I got ordained as a senior pastor, actually pastor in 2009. And then we started, my wife and I, Kendra, started our own church in 2012, September, October. We debate on that. Let's say the fall of 2012 is when we started our church. And, I've always had a passion. Well, I grew up in church. My mom made me go to church and things of that nature. And then I did, like a lot of us did, that, when you turn 18 and 19, you try to do your own thing. So I did the prodigal son thing, and then you come to find out that some of the things that they were teaching you made a lot of sense. You know what I mean? And so I eventually began to make my way back as a young man. Say my late 20s is when I really got serious about the things of God again, as I found myself dating my wife. At that time, she was my girlfriend, my wife. And then, being a dad and saying, I have a responsibility to put certain things in this child. At that time, I was my oldest daughter, Danielle, who I came to her like she was 5. So to fast forward all that, got back in the church, got saved again, And you know, got a real hunger and a thirst for the Bible and for the Word. And so, I mean, I would spend, 3-4 hours a day in the Word for probably about 4 or 5 years, either watching it and reading it. And so God was dealing with me about teaching. I've always had an anointing to teach. I've always been a leader. You know, I was a basketball player. I was always a captain. I was always out front. People always came to me for leadership and counsel and all that. So I should have been charging people a long time ago, but just never did. And so fast forward that, you know, I started teaching a Bible study for teenagers in our church basement. Then I started my own, went to another church. Our pastor died, I went to another church, and then started teaching there. And so, you know, God has always had me teaching and instructing and counseling and leading people. And, you know, so that fast forward that, you know, we started church, but in the middle of all that, I've always had a passion for finance. I grew up in a family where my dad has owned his own barbershop, his own real estate. And so I never lost that, you know, and then I worked in the financial services industry for over 20 years, selling life insurance and investments and mutual funds. So I did all that. And so I see what I do as is the marriage of the two, meaning, you know, how do we pragmatically bring faith, finance, and business together? And so that's what I'm passionate about, because I know even though we all of us don't have to share the same faith, and so we recognize that it's about Jesus Christ and being in the kingdom of God and all that. But, you know, outside of that, after you become born again, what's next?
Right.
And so there's some things that people need as a pastor. So, you know, I teach balance. You know, I believe balance is the key to life. You know, so I talk about balance spiritually, physically, relationally, and financially. And all of them are important. You know, obviously the first thing is spiritually, but if I don't have my finances together, well, it's going to impact my spiritual life. If I don't have my health together, it's going to impact my spiritual life. If I don't have my relationship together, it's going to impact my spiritual life. And so tying all those together is what, you know, we've really been about doing, you know, for the last 8 years, but even prior to that, you know, just doing a lot of things. And so that's where I say it starts. Yeah.
That's good. So nothing is wasted. I always say God wastes nothing.
No.
So he was in the financial services industry, reading the Bible, studying, teaching teenagers. Now that right there was your test right there. If you could teach teenagers.
Yeah, well, teaching teenagers with a King James Bible.
Right.
Friday night.
Patience right there. That right there, you know that God has his hand on you.
On a Friday night, we teach it out of the King James Bible, you know, and so it was challenging.
As a teenager. Right.
Yeah, but it was fun, you know, because you really got a chance to connect with some young people who were going through some really difficult times. You know, we had young ladies in our group who were adopted, and, you know, some who had gone through some horrific things that, you know, I had never gone through as a young man. You know, so how do you begin to love up on them in a practical way, but also really share the principles of God through the Bible is what we really try to do. Yeah.
That is good. That is it. Now, one of the things that thank you, Pastor Dexter. One of the things I like about Shyra and Marques is that their story was that they are debt free, but they had like 6 figures of debt, and they got out of debt in 2.5 years. They're homeowners, young homeowners with children. Is it 1 child or 2?
2.
2 children. Okay. And so I'm gonna let Shyra kind of give the story of the journey where you started, because people think like, oh, you know, well, she just came from money. She inherited money. That's how she. It's like, where did you start? It's like, so where did the revelation come of like, we got to do better?
Yeah. So neither one of us came from a household, you know, with money. You know, I grew up a single parent home. Marques' parents are married, but still, nah, you know, we were married really young. So we got married at 21 years old. We both grew up in a church. We actually went to churches, you know, down the street and around the corner from each other. And yeah, so we got married really young. So we wanted to do the right thing. You know, we didn't live together before we were married or anything like that. And so we got married, and you know, I came into the marriage with debt. He came into the marriage with debt, and together we got into more debt. We were really, really good at that.
Okay.
But there came a point in time to where we just hit a really tough financial spot, and the debt, you know, became a big issue. We had more month than we had money. I guess at our lowest point, our income was $1,300 a month. And we had a mortgage. We had a brand new baby.
In California?
In California. We were on government assistance. And so we just went through it, y'all.
Yeah. And the bad part about it was me, I managed the finances at that time. And so I thought I could work my way out of it. Like, oh, okay, I'm gonna get a night job. We're gonna get into, you know, some of the multiple streams of income that we talk about and we share about now. But at that time I was, okay, I could pick up this part-time job. But it came a point in time when it was like, you know what, I can't work my way out of this. I really need to put my head together with Shyra, get with her, admit, hey, I haven't been doing a great job at managing the finances, so we could, you know, kind of create strategy together to get ourselves out of debt. And so that was the hardest part for me, was just coming to her and admitting, I haven't been doing a great job with managing the money.
Right, because it was a cycle. If I wanted something, I would say, Marques, can I have this? And Marques would say, yes, there's more than enough. Even when there really wasn't, you know? And so that's one thing that we talk about too, is that when you're in a marriage, both parties need to be involved in the finances, okay? Both, we need to have the same information. Even if there's one person that takes the lead on paying the bills, we both need to understand, you know, what's happening and what our financial plan is for the short term and the long term. And so what ended up happening was I had taken a pause from working because I had a new baby. But eventually I re-entered the workforce.
How long was the pause, Shyra? How long was the pause?
How long?
It seemed like it was close, maybe 9 months.
Probably around 9 months.
6 or 9
Okay,
months.
so like the first year, basically. Like
yes. And so I re-entered the workforce. Marques got a new job, making more money. He started working nights, so he did do the night thing, and so that eliminated the need for childcare, though. So we saved a lot of money there. Marques started an online business, started finding creative ways to make money, and basically, when we got our income up, we didn't go out and get a new car. We didn't, you know, decorate a nice baby room. We didn't move into a bigger place. You know, we said, you know what, this is a pivotal moment right now. And so we decided to really focus in on our debt. And so any additional income that came in went directly towards the debt. And so we were able to pay off 6 figures worth of debt in about 2.5 years. And so since then, we've started our YouTube. We started investing in real estate. So we have 2 out-of-state rental properties. And I guess that's kind of where we are now, is just really sharing our message that you don't have to live in poverty and that you can make better choices, and that it's never really too late to start making positive financial choices.
One of the things, Shyra, I remember you saying, I heard it on the videos, because you got to subscribe to their YouTube channel, okay? And your YouTube channel is Black, Married, Debt Free.
Yes. Black,
Married, and Debt Free. As you said, that you made sacrifices, but it doesn't have to equal suffering. So I find that people of color, Black people especially, they don't want to live by a budget. They don't want to sacrifice. They don't want to suffer. I want what I want when I want right now. Right. Yes, you know, I'm going to have debt till I die, but I want what I want. But you decided, and both of you all decided, to talk about this thing, what we call generational wealth or legacy. So talk about what that means to you, because both of you are parents, you're married with kids. And one of the ways that the majority or Caucasians build wealth is through life insurance policies and real estate. Yeah. So talk to us about that, because a lot of Black people, and you said this, Marques, I think you said that the average Black person or average person doesn't even have $500 as an emergency fund. And a lot of people don't even own things. So how do you get the mindset to know that you need insurance, you need to have legacy? What is generational wealth? What does that mean to you, Pastor Dexter? What does that mean to you?
Well, I think it, you know, I love the Murray's story, because, you know, they represent everything that our world needs, and I mean, and in particular our community, you know, family and working together and all that, and that's a good visual, you know what I mean? But I think as you're talking about generational wealth, I think you're looking at, you know, they have 2 children and I have 3 children and I have a grandson. and looking at, how do we make decisions that will not just impact us now, but impact them 2 generations from now. One of my favorite verses in the Bible is Proverbs 13:22, where it said, a good man leaves an inheritance for his children's children.
There you go.
And so, you're speaking, okay, I'm not just thinking about me. I'm thinking about not my children, but also my grandson. And so we're making decisions. So, we set up an account for him. I mean, please, he was like 1.
Oh.
He's 6 now. But, as opposed to us getting him another toy, which we did do anyway. But, we set up an account for him. We threw, I think, $50 or $100 a month in there. And so by the time he's 18, 19, and then now we're looking at, as I'm talking to my daughter about, getting involved in real estate for us, buying an investment property for him. So it's all about thinking strategically, thinking about, imagine this world where they have the opportunity when they graduate either from high school or college, that the first question we don't ask them is, where you going to work at? Because they got options. They're stepping into something that's already running. Now they can do what God has called for them to do, as opposed to having to go work. You know what I mean? Because, I was talking to my son the other day. I hope I don't down the conversation, but one of the things I was talking to, actually my Bible study last night, and I was saying that we have to get past this thing of thinking that the pastor is the only one who's called to do something. All of us have a call. All of us have an ordination. And, a lot of times our call is being sacrificed because the dollar is pulling at us. I gotta go to work. I gotta go do this. I'm doing something I hate to do, but it's not really my calling. And what you find is that, it impacts every aspect of your life, in particular with men, as Marques was talking, and he was talking about his wife coming to him. And see, no man likes to tell their wife no.
Right.
It's just something on the inside. You're like, baby, I got this. Go ahead.
Right.
And I'll figure out the way to make it. I felt you, man. I'm like, yeah, go ahead, tell me this. But then sometimes it just depends on where you are. That you have to say, hey, babe, we can make some adjustment, things of that nature. And so, it really does come down to, back to your original question of really looking at us being strategic. And saying, okay, is this important? I was watching Shyra's video yesterday when she was talking about the $5 challenge, and looking at, everything that I do, I'm equating it to $5. Okay, it's $1, but really it's $5. And so when you begin to think like that, but more importantly, teach your children that, and teach your grandchildren that, of how that works, and that's what people who are, some of the names that we know, the Vanderbilts and people like that. I mean, Rockefeller, that's what they do. They sit down and teach their children the value of some of these things. And so that's what we have to begin to do.
And a lot of times it deals with mindset. It deals with, the Rockefellers, I believe, were Christians, and talk about
Exactly,
giving.
they were, yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and talk about giving, because I heard you talk about that, Marques, about tithing, giving.
Oh, yeah.
How that is really part of your strategy or formula, I guess you would say, of getting out of debt and getting on the path to wealth. So talk about that, Marques.
Yeah, when we were during our debt payoff journey, we implemented some different strategies, and at the time, we were giving, and we think giving, definitely has a supernatural component. When you give, you're more able to receive, and so we definitely that was part of the strategy as well, was to give charitable donations, giving to our church, so on and so forth. So you definitely want to have a giving heart, even when you're trying to pursue this goal of paying down debt. That we felt that was important for us. But kind of touching on what we were speaking on earlier, when we were paying off our debt, we were in that moment, and we really wanted to accomplish that goal. And once we did that, we realized then that, okay, now we have to go on to the wealth building phase. Like that was foundational. Paying off debt afforded us to begin to implement strategies to build wealth for our children. And as Pastor Dexter was saying, it's very important to shift that mindset. And we did that. And with us purchasing the rental properties, I looked at it as, I'm buying one for my son and I'm buying one for my daughter. Now we plan to buy more,
right.
But what a blessing it will be when my kids, graduate, like Pastor Dexter said, graduate high school, and I could say, hey, we have a property manager on this property, we have a property manager on this property. teach them the business. All you have to do is really continue on what we've set forth. And so that was very important for us. And the building wealth thing is definitely the phase we're in now. So I'm glad.
I love that. I love that. Do you guys, Marques and Shyra, do you all have real estate license, or is it just something that you researched and learned? How did the real estate thing come about? You all are buying these properties out of state.
Yeah. So while we were in the process of paying off our debt, that we pretty much had a plan for that. So it wasn't something that we constantly needed to revisit. Each month we knew how much was going towards the debt. And so that was it. So to fill our time, we started to research real estate so that when we paid off our debt, we would be in a better position to pursue it. So we spent that time educating ourselves. So neither one of us has a real estate license. And depending on what you do in real estate, you may or may not, need one. And so we were able to purchase 2 properties in 2018. And so that's just based off of our research, being self-taught, and just connecting with others that are doing similar things.
Okay. And then why real estate? So both of you guys have this passion for real estate. Why is it? I know it's biblical. You talk about possessing the land, but what is it that you could have invested in stocks and bonds? You could have done network marketing. You hear a lot of people talk about network marketing. So, I mean, no shade against network marketing, but why real estate?
Well, we do. We invest in the market. We invest a good percentage of our income each month into low-cost index funds, and we do real estate. So the goal with real estate is that it becomes its own self-sustaining business. So it's the second. So we're expecting some rent money to come in, and so what you do is you take the income from those, we take the income from our properties and we save it up so that we can buy more properties. And then we invest our income into a good percentage of our income into the market. So some people will do either or, but we do a combination of both because it's important that we diversify and that you are invested in multiple different things, just in case one industry, isn't doing well, you have something else to fall back on. So we do a combination of both.
Good. And so Pastor Dexter, how many properties do you have right now?
Two right now. Yeah,
Two
we
right
have
now?
okay. 2 right now that and then I do have my real estate. I'm an agent, but more so as an investor. I don't do open houses and all that type of stuff.
Okay.
It's limited, but really more so I can have access to the MLS and get in and out of houses and things of that nature. So, so my strategy is very similar to the Murrays. We have real estate, and then we also have investments, 401k and things of that nature. So it's all about building an asset base. Right. And so whether it's the stocks and bonds or whatever it may be, or whether it's real estate, it's all about building an asset base so that, one day you'll be able to have that come in residually, because that's the goal. Mm-hmm. And be able to have your money working for you, and you on vacation or doing whatever, and that's what I think Warren Buffett says, you will die poor if you don't learn how to make money while you're sleeping. Right. And that's the goal, is for us to be able to make money while I'm sleeping, or whether I'm preaching a sermon, or whether I'm on vacation with my wife or hanging out with the kids, that money is still coming in. And so, that's the mentality. So when Marques was talking about the 8 streams of income, and I think the last video I watched about you guys got up to 11 streams of income. I mean, that's what you want to do. And that's biblical. Solomon said that, over, I think Ecclesiastes talked about have 7 adventures. Then he said, hold up, have 8 adventures, because you don't know what's going to come on the land. So here we are in the time that we're in right now. If we would just focus on one stream of income, many of us would be in trouble, because of the way this COVID thing has hit. And so, you really want to have as many streams coming in as possible, that allow you to be able to build wealth and build a lifestyle for yourself.
So Marques, tell us about some of the streams that you've had. I know that you're a musician, and one of the things, I think it was Shyra, we were talking about whatever you're good at, whatever you have a passion for, turn your talent into a business. Baking pies, baking cookies. There's a lady in Detroit that lemonade. I mean, she took her grandparents, I think, tea or something like that, and made that into a business. So talk about your streams, and that'll give people ideas, especially in these times where people are feeling very unsure and how they should raise the vibration of their faith up, but give them some ideas or some things that you've done that have worked as part of your streams.
Absolutely. So I think a lot of it goes back to my upbringing, and I was just raised by workers, and my father worked hard, my grandfather worked hard, you know, and so I saw that, and that just is kind of in my DNA. So when we were going through our debt-free journey, we wanted to not only, sometimes you budget, you cut back as much as you can, but you have to implement income producing strategy into that. So so I began to say, okay, well, what skills and gifts do I have, and how can I leverage those to create income? And so I'm a musician. I play at my local church, and so I was, you know, getting a stipend for that. And then I said, okay, well, what else can I do? So I partnered with a company that creates essentially karaoke's of the most popular gospel and worship songs for churches who don't have musicians. So not only am I blessing churches around the country, but I'm also, you know, was able to create a business around that. And so that was another stream. Me and Shyra, as we began documenting our debt-free journey, you know, we started getting ad revenue from, you know, YouTube, and I'm a creative person. So I said, hey, let's create a podcast. You know, I know I'm a creative person. So I said, what ways can I use that to create, you know, different streams? And so, as Pastor Dexter was saying, it's important that you do that. And there's no better way that's illuminated than the situation we're in right now with the pandemic. I mean, people losing their jobs, being laid off, furloughed. While we had a lot of goals for 2020, some different things came at us, you know, with this pandemic. But, you know, luckily we had the streams of income there to kind of weather that storm and still keep us on track to accomplish our goals. And so, you know, that's just a few of the streams. But, you know, I started driving for Grubhub. You know, I think it's important to not be.
Yeah, I heard that. I was like, I never thought about that.
Yeah, I think
definitely, you can't go into the restaurant.
Right.
So,
right.
But you can have it delivered.
Exactly. And I think a thing for me is it's important not to be too good to do anything. Right. So if you have these goals, you can't be too proud and say, well, I'm not going to do that. If that thing can generate me income to help me accomplish my goals, then I'm gonna consider it, and I'm probably gonna do it. So that's kind of been my mentality.
I love it. And that's part of it seems like your money blueprint, so to speak. Like you said, your parents were workers, and my parents are workers too. My parents my dad was a mailman. My mother was a housewife, but they also, in the evening after he delivered mail, they would go and clean apartments. I'm not apartment, but office buildings, me included. You know, after he works all day as a mailman, he would come home to the family, and the three of us, we would go out and clean these apartments. That's when I decided, I don't think I'm going to be doing this. I'm going to make sure that I make enough money so that I can have other people clean my office buildings. Because I was like, this is not what, you know, because I was young. I was like, oh, I want to work in this. I want to own this office. So your money mindset gets shaped from things that happen when you're young, because it's like, kind of like what Oprah says. And when her grandmother told her, he says, well, one day, you know, you're going to be doing this for some good white people. And Oprah remembered at a young age when she says, no, I'm not going to be doing that. I'm going to have some good white people, but they're going to be working for me, you know? So it's like one of those things. So you do have, if the imprint of your mind, of your money imprint or your blueprint is in your mind from things that happened in your childhood. Shyra, what was it for you, your money mindset, so to speak, that maybe things you had to overcome or things you had to talk about, your whiteboard that you have in you guys' room in terms of your affirmation? Oh
yeah, we have a whiteboard up. There's one right in front of us. I had to bring him on board because I think he thought that, you know, me writing down some things that I wanted to happen, it feels a little bit odd when you're doing it at first, because I wrote some things down about him, you know, that he would see. But several of those things that I wrote down came to pass. And so he had to say, well, I guess you were right, you know.
Something to this.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
so what people need to do is when they see other people who are successful, they need to also be okay with acknowledging their success, but also saying that that's something that I can do too. You know, so for us, it was, we would hear about other people becoming debt free or other people are doing well. And I had to shift my mind and say, you know what, I can do that too. I can be debt free too. I can build wealth too. That's not for someone else. That's for me. You know, so you have to speak those positive affirmations over yourself.
Let's see this.
There we go.
My income is constantly increasing.
Yes, it is.
Little Post-it notes. I have different ones for different days, right?
Yes, it is. And so when you write those things and when you see it and when you're praying on it, even when you don't know how it's going to happen, just getting that into your subconscious mind, all of a sudden you'll get ideas. Like even the Google bar, the search bar, that came to someone in a dream. And he spoke it to someone and that person said, no, I don't think that's going to happen. But surely enough, everyone almost every day is using that Google, you know, search bar. So you never know what it's going to be, but you just claim it. You just put it out in the atmosphere and say, Lord, I'm going to put it out there. I need you to do something with this. And he will.
So you are a big believer now of those whiteboards and affirmations now, huh, Marques?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Shyra, even within the business, she had written down something, you know, that I was going to be one of the top contributors within this business. And
gospel.
So I was like, okay.
It was gospel tracks or gospel.
Yeah, it was loopgospel.com.
Loop gospel. Yep. Yeah. You were top one. I saw it. And it happened. It's like, oh, there is something to do it. My husband is like that as well. It's like sometimes he doesn't understand it until it actually happens. It's like, oh, well, yeah, well, where's that book at? It's like, what was that you were doing? What were you listening to? It's like, you need to listen to Pastor Dexter and Marques and Shyra. You got to hear what their strategies are. So overall, I want you all to, I love this. I love you guys because what you're putting out is, one, is practical, it's spiritual, and it is feeding us in this season right now. Right. What would you say, Pastor Dexter, to a speaker who made maybe 50% of their income traveling and speaking on stages, and now at the point where 50% of their income is not there? So what would you say to them at this point in time? Because a lot of them are trying to figure out this digital thing. Zoom is good, but they may not have the skills like Marques in terms of doing video and lighting and all of that. So it's like, I just got my phone. So what do you say to someone like that? How do they pivot? And what kind of strategies?
Well, I think that what you just said was key. That the word pivot is critical. You know, a young lady in my church sent me a text message, said, Pastor, it's time to pivot. And I'm a basketball player, so I know what pivoting is, you know. So if you had the ball, you're trying to pivot, but the goal is still the same, to score a basket. I may have to pivot and do some different things, but I'm still trying to get around somebody. And so I think what Marques said was so critical is that you can't be too, I'm gonna use a word, high-minded to do some things. If I can find a way to make some income during this time, let me do it. But then also, I think this is a time for us to find a way for us to, first of all, the second thing I would say is call somebody like you, you know, who is skilled in this. Because many of us are very good at content, and I'm not as skilled as my brother is, but, you know, there are folks out there who you can partner with, you know, and say, hey, you're good at this, you know, and partnerships are a big part of you becoming wealthy, is that you're hooking up with someone who doesn't do what you do well, and you guys trade off. Sometimes it's for financial, sometimes for other things. But partnering with people is critical. And then also during this time, you just have to find other ways to be effective. You just can't get around that. That's just where we are in society, you know. And a lot of, I think, whether it's a speaker or anybody in business or anybody who's in the workforce, in the marketplace, you know, the market is speaking. Things are never going to go back to the way they were. And so as soon as people wrap their mind around the fact that, hey, there is a new normal, I got to adjust, I got to adapt. And then what skills, Shyra talked about, what skills do I have that I can adjust and pivot with in order to go forward. Because really, and to what you just held up, there's still opportunity. You listen, this is the time for us to go forward. This is not a time for you to stick your head in the sand and be crying. This is the time for you to say, hey, maybe you take some losses, lick your wounds, but it's time to get back into the game, and figure out other ways for me to be effective. And there are ways to do it. And I think Shyra said it, as you step forward, God will begin to meet you right where you are. One of the guys in List 2 talks about, he said, God gives you more on your way than as opposed to you sitting back. So as you begin to take steps, opportunities and revelation, things will begin to open up, and you'll find a way to do it. But most people, what I found is, Pam, is that they don't recognize opportunity. And
so
opportunity open doors.
Do you think real estate, not knowing the real estate market, both of you all, is this a good time to buy? Is this a buyer's market, seller's market? What is?
Anytime is a good time if you're ready. Now, some people want to jump out into real estate. You're not ready. You don't have your finances together. You're not ready. But it's, but you got to, if you take care of your house, then you go buy some more, So I don't know. Like, I think it's always, now is always a good time.
Okay.
So that's, I think that's my short
answer.
Yeah,
agreed. Yeah, I mean, now is always a good time to meet people. If you look at people who are buying up things, the people that I'm around, they're moving on and trying to purchase more property because when other people are fearful, that's when you need to charge.
That's good.
You know what I mean? That's how it is. Warren Buffett talked about that in one of his books. He was talking about when other people on the sideline, you get in the game, and then when other people in the game, you get out. So you're almost looking opposite of what everybody else is doing.
Okay.
So same thing investing in stocks. When if a stock is solid, the business is solid. If it's going down, you need to buy more of it. And so, and Shyra said something very interesting that's key. It's the education piece first. That's the best investment you can make is in yourself. You have to take the time to read the books. You got to take the time to get on the podcast. You got to get in the Bible. You got to get in with people like yourselves and humble yourself and learn. And then once you do some of the learning, then you're capable to take advantage of the opportunity, because unless you understand these things, you don't even recognize opportunity when it comes by you, because it's running by you, but you can't understand it because you don't understand finance and business and success. And so it starts there.
That is good.
Yeah,
so what is one of the strategies? Go on, Marques.
Oh, I'm sorry. I just wanted to kind of butt in with Pastor Dexter. Pastor Dexter, I just want to say I appreciate you because a lot of times, in our history, as far as with pastors, we don't hear them really speak on personal finance. We hear them speak on the finance of
the church.
Yeah, and giving to God and different things. And while that's important, I appreciate that you care about. It seems like from what I'm just our short, conversation, that you care about everyone's personal finance. Where did that come from? Like, and you kind of touched on it, but can you elaborate a little bit on it? Like, where did you get that mindset from?
I think it comes from my upbringing, and I always thought church wasn't relevant to me. It was good for Sunday, but then on Monday I did my own thing. You know what I mean? And so as I begin to pastor, one of the things I've always said is, I want to talk to, but when I first was just pastoring, a senior pastor, I would say our senior pastor, he's the Sunday guy, I'm the Monday through Saturday guy. Meaning I want to know how you live a Monday through Saturday. Sunday, he got that. I'm the Monday through Saturday guy. So I want to know how you and your kids getting along, how you and your wife getting along, how's work. That's the questions I'm asking you, because we are very good at doing the Sunday thing. Hallelujah, praise God. We're good at that. But we failing on Tuesday. We failing on Wednesday. So then I started saying, okay, and just dealing with a lot of men, man, you can't connect with men unless you're talking finances. They don't want to hear you. They just like, okay, man, praise the Lord. I'll send my wife to church, but I need to go make some money. And so some of those things really has resonated with me, and saying, okay, if we are really going to connect with people, let's connect around this finance thing. I mean, last year we did a money, what we call Money Sunday, where what I did was we had the whole church go through a financial seminar. So what we did, we invited speakers in. So we had We did worship for about, I think, 20 minutes. We took up the offering. We took up the offering. took up the offering. And then we had breakout sessions. We had people talk about wills and trusts. And we had people talk about life insurance. We had people talk about real estate investment. So this is in the Sunday service, because when I said, listen, sometime if you try to hold a Saturday seminar, people ain't gonna come to that. But if I got you captive here on Sunday, let's take advantage of that. And so, you know, and so that's always been my heart, is really to see God's people, not anybody, but really as a pastor, God's people do well financially. And then I know this, as they do well, the church will do well. Just, you know, if because some of you guys believe in tithing and think, listen, if you tithe and all that, man, please, the church's budget would be off the chain. So, but I've got to get you right, to your point, which you guys been talking about. Let's get them right so that they can be able to give to the church and support the visions of the pastor and what God is being calling them to do.
Good. That is excellent. So they come to church on Sunday and they think they don't hear about the Bible, and you're like, no, we're having a breakout for wills and trusts today on this Sunday.
I'm like, no, we got a captive audience. You ain't leaving. Stop the lock
like
the door.
A will. Because a lot of times people don't like to talk about wills and trusts because they feel like they're speaking into existence. They're going to die. Right. Just like I don't want to talk about life insurance because, you know, I don't know what it is. It's a mindset thing, but you have to set things up and for legacy, for generational wealth. So wills and trusts and life insurance, all of those things that aren't talked about need to be talked about. And that's what I like, that you, Marques and Shyra, you make it fun. You make it look like this is like part of life. This is what we do. You all got married very young at 21 years old. My daughter's 23. She doesn't even have a boyfriend, you know, much less to be married with 2 kids. It's like, oh my goodness, you know. So I've been sending her your videos. It's like, watch them. They're role models. So those are good things because of your principles, and also too because of what you all believe and it's working for you. Right. So what gets attention for young people to listen to you is when they say that, oh, they're Black, married, and debt-free. Really? So that's kind of like a cool thing. It's like, okay, but it's not like you're sitting on top of a Bentley and posing type of thing, right?
Right.
It's not like, it's like, yeah, you know, I'm balling and you know, it's not like that, but just like, these are the practical things that you have to do because you're building wealth over time and you're leaving legacy, generational wealth. So I love that. So I want to, Pastor Dexter, I want you to tell people how they can get in touch with you. Marques and Shyra, tell them how they can get in touch with you. And if you have a program or offering that people can connect with, let them know about that. And Pastor Dexter, let them know what they can get on your website in terms of your 3 ships.
Yes.
3 ships method.
Well, everybody can connect with me at dexterbjenkins.com. And we're in the process of developing a lot of things, but what Pam was talking about is we came with something called the SHIP method. And so that talked about 3 ways to become, build generational wealth. And so that's where you can connect with us. And then if you want to connect via social media, Dexter B. Jenkins across the board, Facebook and LinkedIn and all that. So.
Right. And a ship, like like a sailing ship.
Yeah,
right.
Like a sailing ship, yeah.
Right, because it's ownership, stewardship,
ownership, entrepreneurship.
Entrepreneurship, right, ship. Okay, because sometimes we got to make sure we pop that P.
Yeah, right? Yeah. It sounds funny if you don't say it right.
Right. So that's the ship method.
Ship with a P at the end. Yeah.
P. Okay. And then you guys, Marques and Shyra, where can we find you? I know you got to watch the YouTube. It is definitely so creative. How did you learn how to do that? Just on a side note, Marques, how did you learn how to do all that? Or was it Shyra? Is it Shyra? Who does it? I kind of figured it was Marques because he's a creative guy.
You know, Pam, it just comes from just being a student of YouTube University, you know.
Wow, they are so cool.
Yeah, just watching people. And so, yeah, that's kind of how I learned how to do my
But you do
editing.
music too. So part of it is that you have the ear and the sound and that whole production piece.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
yeah, that most people just kind of like, but yeah. So if you're a musician, that's part of making sure that whole visual, because even like when you do the video, you'll put in like Seinfeld or you'll put in like Ninja Turtles. And it's like, okay, where is this coming from? So it's entertaining. It's entertaining.
Thank you. Yeah, so if you want to connect with Shyra and myself, Black Married Debt Free, you can find us anywhere on social media just by Black, Married, and Debt Free. We also created a master class where we do a deep dive on the strategies we use to pay off debt and that we're currently using to build wealth. So that master class is available simply by going to our Instagram account and clicking on the link in our biography. You can get the master class, and yeah, just anywhere, just Google Black, Married, Debt Free, and you'll probably see these two faces.
I love it. I love it. Just Google Black, Married, and Debt Free. That's it. That is how you all do it. I'm just so excited. And Speakers Magazine will be featuring you in our upcoming issue, and you'll definitely be on the website, part of the podcast series. I may even have to talk to you about really upgrading maybe some of our videos and things like that too. I don't know if that's another stream of income you want to get into, but that is definitely for sure. So you can go to speakersmagazine.net and find out all that information for that. So Pastor Dexter B. Jenkins, thank you. Marques and Shyra, Murrey, thank you so much for coming on with us today. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.